legend of Dracula is born in the last voyage of the Demeter.
Evil is on this ship.
In the night it drinks our blood. We call him Dracula.
Oh my God.
I wanted this to be the scariest depiction of Dracula ever.
There's something potent about that mythology. Everyone knows fear, and I think Dracula represents that.
This chapter of Bram Stoker's Dracula hasn't been told. What actually happened on the ship that transported Dracula from the port of Varna to England is by itself just fascinating.
Dracula is trying to find more people, more blood, a better place to feed.
This looks like a bite.
What better place than the huge city of London?
Search the ship. Everywhere.
It's monster time when the lights go out.
I really loved this alien-style story set on the ocean in 1897 and with Dracula instead of the alien monster. It was just all the elements were really exciting.
He is here.
There are moments in this movie that when I read the script, I was like sharp intake of breath stuff. What? There is fantastic jump scares, fantastic acting. We get actors to do proper scenes. It would do it a disservice to call this a horror movie. It is way beyond that. It's beautiful looking. Tom, our cinematographer, is incredibly talented, been in the game forever, Oscar nominated, the whole deal. There's a lot of big hitters involved in this. Mr. Steven Spielberg's company is making this movie. Big hitters. So we have to deliver the goods. And their wonderful, wonderful director and producer and Sepp Brad and everybody involved in this has gone the extra mile. It's nearly killed us on a number of occasions on this. They haven't spared anything trying to kill us on board during storms and stuff. I don't know how. I really should call my agent, or at least my psychiatrist.
As we've seen, there have been hundreds of iterations of bringing Dracula to life from both comic books to TV to screen, but there's never been a story about Dracula as scary as The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I believe that this is the first time I've ever seen Dracula portrayed in such a terrifying, unforgivably horrifying way, and that is something that I think has always been missing from the Dracula story. I love all the philosophical ideas that are wrestled with in the Dracula narrative. I love that he's been this erotic and dark and, very cool character, but Dracula's definitely never been as horrifying as he will be in The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Dracula is supposed to sustain himself for a month out there. So he brings on board, in one of the crates, he brings on board a woman from a nearby village from from his castle that they sacrifice to him. And so that he can have the blood supply he needs for the journey. So eventually the crew find her and they take her out of his hands. So now he's lost. He doesn't have any blood supply. So he starts attacking the animals. He starts attacking, eventually, of course, the crew. And they don't know what's going on, and she doesn't really know what's going on either.
I think really what it is you're sitting with these people and you're watching them go through this experience that they have no choice but to go through. There's no way off this ship, and that evil is lurking right there below the surface. And, it really puts you in a state that we don't get to live in sometimes in these times. It's like we're all very comfortable, and the great part about this genre is that it pushes you outside your comfort zone.
So the first time I really saw our monster was when he was in my face, about to take a large lump out of my neck. And I said hello to him when he walked on board, but it's a lot different when the rain is going, the wind machines, all this noise, and you're doing something, even though it's in the script, you're doing something, you turn around and he's there. And I really, genuinely, I really got a fright. And I got a fright not just in one take, but over and over. So if I'm getting a fright and I know the guy who's in the suit, hopefully that should transfer to scaring the bejesus out of anybody watching the movie.
But when people see it, I mean, you literally get chills down the back of your spine. But then the magic is also it's just also funny because I know it's Javier in there, and he's so, the way he moves, the way he turns his neck, the detail in this movie is so key.
So you've never seen Dracula look like he does in this film. He looks like something out of your worst nightmare, something that's crawled out of the pits of hell, something that is the conjuring of an evil mind, and that is what Dracula is. We all fear death. We all stare at our mortality, and it gives us all kinds of emotions, but what Dracula represents and the endless feasting upon human life to sustain his own immortality is just a horror that is almost inexplicable. And in this film, the first time that you catch a glimpse of Dracula, you're never going to forget it. It's something that is, I believe, going to live with audiences for a long time and haunt their nightmares.
My body is so aesthetic for horror creatures, and because of my flexibility, I can do a very weird movement.
We call him Dracula.
Since we had Javier playing him, we should play to his strengths. So we've covered him, but we haven't really changed that much of him. We're still using him as a basis.
The cheeks, the nose, lips, it was like 5 hours.
The devil is real.
It's very important to have an actor of his quality because the other actors can then relate to him.
I kind of avoided seeing Dracula, and I really, genuinely got a fright.
This is a dramatic telling of one of the most incredible chapters of one of the greatest books ever contributed to the horror pantheon, and it tells a story of death coming in all of its horror for these people, just like it will come for all of us. And there's nothing, it seems, that they can do about it. And yet, against all odds, they're going to try to figure out a way to defeat it. And death has never looked as terrifying, death has never looked as intimidating, death has never looked as dark as it does in the embodiment of Dracula that our incredible actor Javier and the amazing makeup team who put together his appearance have done to see him stalking towards both these poor characters and the audience themselves. Dracula is coming for you.
Yeah.